Okay, in this video we're going to talk about how to get flying with Xplane and your SimAvio panels. One word of information, point of interest, is that the SimAvio panels will not work unless you have internet connectivity. They do a version check and a authorization check to make sure that you're a licensed version over the internet. So if you haven't already set up your Wi-Fi and you're not already on the internet, then go and do that first before you get to this stage. So first thing we want to do is Xplane requires a DVD to operate. They want you to put disk 1 into the drive. To get around that, I have a little setup down here. It says Xplane 10 no DVD. If you right click on that and go to Mount Virtual Clone Drive, it will create a virtual drive and make it think that it's got the disk in there. You can go ahead and close that dialog box. If you want to go ahead and just put the DVD in there, that's fine. You're just tying up your DVD. If you wanted to play music or something while you're flying and use the DVD player, then this frees that up. Okay, so we're going to start the panels first. Point of note here, you'll see the mouse over here. When I go off the left-hand side of the screen, I pop up on the right-hand side here. So it's as if these panels are in a line from left to right, this being the first monitor in the line. Go ahead, go over here to SimAvio. There's a version checker here as well, but we just want to start up the panels. See, it pops up here at the top saying it's getting ready to start. We'll wait for the panels to load. It won't actually load a panel because it doesn't know what plane we're flying yet. It will just load and get ready for Xplane. You want to start this before you start Xplane. So you'll see it's up there on the heads-up display, not on the bottom, but that's okay. We'll fix that once we start Xplane. You'll see it says waiting for connection, meaning it's waiting for Xplane, and the needle's in the green saying we have plenty of PC to run this operation. So we'll go over here to the Xplane icons, and we've got a 32 and a 64-bit option. Usually you'll choose the 64-bit operating system, but there are certain plugins like VATSIM, which allows you to go on the internet and fly into airports that are being controlled by people in the virtual realm, get ATC clearances and that sort of stuff, talking to real people. If you want to use that plugin, which this already has that installed, you'll have to set up an account for one if you don't already have one, but it's free. But it won't run under 64-bit. You'll have to run it under 32-bit, so that's why there's an option to choose the two different versions. So we'll just go ahead and go at 64-bit. Xplane begins to load. It'll take us to the options menu where we can choose the airport, we can choose the plane we want to fly, we can choose weather, whether real time, etc. We're just going to go with the defaults that I had the last time I flew, which Los Angeles International, with a glass panel display, a Garmin 1000 in a Cessna 182. We'll go ahead and fly with these options, and it will begin to load Xplane. While this is loading, I'm going to go ahead and move the panel. I don't need to do it this way, but I'm going to because we've got some time to kill. I'm just going to drag it down here so I can make sure that we can see what's happening on the next step. And you can see it says interface test is running, so Xplane has begun to load up there. So now it's testing its connection. Passed OK. And it begins to load the panel for the 182 with the Garmin 1000 glass display. No analog dials, all glass panel. I do have a few analog gauges there so you can check things analog, but we'll see that in a moment. So you'll see it pops up. Well, it moved back up over here, but that's okay. Make sure that you have selected the application. If it happens to be underneath, then you just go down here to your toolbar, which is a hiding disappearing one, and you'll click on the FTS. It'll bring it to the front. Go ahead and click on it, and what we're going to do is do Control and M as in Mary on the keyboard. Sorry, I was fat fingering there with one hand, and you see the panel opens up. So I, for some reason, had the avionics secondary bus off, so you saw the second Garmin light up there and begin to go through its boot up. Enter to continue. Now you have your full glass panel navigation, or instrument panel, and your navigation, and a couple of analog dials. If I go over here to back to Xplane, you'll see Xplane also has hiding menus. So when you roll up, you'll get the menu. If I go to aircraft and go to open aircraft, and I'll go over here and I'll choose an analog Cessna, like say a 172 injected, and choose open aircraft. You'll see that SimAvio begins to automatically change the panel for the selected plane. Sorry for this glare from the window. Sometimes that happens, it goes out of masked mode. It's still open, as you can see, and running. It just went out of masked mode. So I hit Control M and it brought it down here. So now you can see, again, for some reason my avionics are off. Come on. So I turn them back on. You see all the gauges and dials light up. The Garmin is also ready to, it's self-test in progress. It's not ready just quite yet. But you'll see right here it says fly with this OK. You'll hit enter twice and it goes into its startup. Enter twice and it goes into its startup. And you'll see you've got your GPS down here, the old school GPS maps down here, autopilot down in the corner, and your regular analog gauges. So that's the way you can switch aircraft, and the panels follow the aircraft. If we want to shut down, it's just as easy. We do Control M to get out of the masking mode, close it like we would any other program, file, exit, and do the same thing with SimAvio or with Xplane, file, quit, and it quits. One note, sometimes the radio panel won't come alive. It'll show all zeros. All you have to do is either rotate a dial or press the switch button and it will come alive. The buttons here are mapped. This is your landing gear down and up. This is your view. If I push it to the left, it looks out the left window. If I push it to the right, it looks out the right window. These are two different heads-up front displays, one with a heads-up and one without. And then the back side here, there's a push-to-talk button, map push-to-talk. This button is mapped to the brakes, so when the plane loads for the first time, it will have the brakes locked on. Push it once, that will remove the brakes. You will start rolling, and if you hold it, because they expect you to use your feet, right, in the rudders for the brakes, so you can't lock them on with that. You'd have to go to the panel and lock them. But you can temporarily hold. If you hold that down, it will hold the brakes.